Stay tuned to meet a man who dared to dream and has followed God's call around the world. My name is Yvonne Lewis Shelton, and you're watching Urban Report. And welcome to Urban Report. My guest today is Dr. Philip Batiste, Secretary-Treasurer of ASI North American Division and follower of Christ. Welcome to Urban Report.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, it's so great to have you.
Awesome.
There's a special reason that I said follower of Christ, because a lot of our guests are followers of Christ, but you have a special journey, and I really want our viewers to know where you've been and how God has taken you from place to place. So let's talk first of all about where you were born and how you were raised. Where were you born?
I was born in Canada, actually.
Oh, wow.
And my dad's a pastor, my mom's a teacher, and two older brothers, the baby of the family. And so we grew up in Western Canada. And at the young age, I had a call to ministry. I won my first person to Christ doing community religious surveys, knocking on doors at the age of 10.
Wow.
And I started preaching at the age of 12. And I just have always had a desire to follow the Lord and to serve Him and to enter into pastoral ministry.
Now, you know, what's interesting to me is that you're a PK. And a lot of times PKs kind of go off to the left a little bit and then they come back and, you know, and sometimes they don't. Most of the time they do come back at some point.
Right.
But it sounds as though you had a call early on.
Early.
And so did you ever have that period where you strayed some and came back?
No, you know, and I tell people I don't have like some radical, you know, conversion story. I was baptized at the age of 10, and I always just wanted to grow in Christ and serve Him. And I started preaching and evangelizing in high school at Crawford Adventist Academy in Toronto, Canada. I was student association pastor. And then at 17, I went to Andrews University and I did prayer conferences with Joe Engelmeyer and Rufy Jacobson and youth events with Jose Rojas and planned the International Pathfinder Camporee with Ron Whitehead and, you know, went through college and university and did my bachelor's in religion and theology, went back to the seminary and did my master's, and then started pastoring and just been on the Lord's side.
Oh, wow. You're one of those who has known from early on what he was called to do.
Yes.
And then you just followed that,
Yeah.
which is really a blessing, because a lot of times, you know, like I said, you can kind of get sidetracked.
Yes.
But even in that, God is merciful.
That's right.
And He allows you to build experiences and things that will contribute to whatever it is He has for you to do anyway.
That's right.
So God is amazing. So you went from being, you know, the PK basically into ministry.
Yes.
Let's talk about how you evangelized at 10. What happened at that particular, when you went door to door? What happened at that door?
Our church, and my dad was a pastor, we were doing community religious surveys. And so we knocked on doors and we said, you know, hi, my name is Philip, and, you know, we'd like to just ask you a few questions. We're doing a short community religious survey in the neighborhood. And we said, okay, you know, in your opinion, is there a God? You know, is there life after death? Who is Jesus, you know, according to your understanding? Son of God, prophet, Messiah, not sure. And at the very end, we said, if you have the opportunity, would you like to study the Bible more? And I remember this lady, she said yes. You know, it was an older lady, and she was like in her 70s. And so I was so excited. And so they told me, well, you're the one that signed her up. You have to come back and give her Bible studies. So my dad and I came back. He helped me, and we gave her Bible studies. And then she was ready to be baptized. And I said, I want to be baptized as well. And so we both got baptized together.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So after you left school, what did you do after you left college?
Yeah, after I left college, I pastored in the Seattle, Washington area and was Associate Youth Director of the Washington Conference. And then I went to seminary and I worked with Dwight Nelson as Associate Youth Pastor at Pioneer Memorial Church. And I worked with the Center for Youth Evangelism, planning the Faith on Fire Pathfinder Camporee and coordinating that. And then I got a call from seminary to the Rocky Mountain Conference. And I pastored there for 5 years. I was Associate Youth Director of the conference. And then I got a call to the Central States Conference. And it was all in the Denver, Colorado area.
Right.
And I was a senior pastor of a large church there. And then they also asked me to be the communication director of the conference. And so that's what I did. And also it was in that time when I was a single pastor for many years, and you know, I used to walk around my apartment singing "Lonely, I am so lonely, I have nobody." You know? And one evening, I had just finished doing communion service at my church, New Year's Eve, and it was the early days of Facebook. The chat feature had just been introduced, and you know, someone popped up and said, "Happy New Year." And I said, "Happy New Year." And they said, "How are you?" And 5 minutes into the conversation, she said, "So what's a handsome guy like you doing single?" And I said, "Well, you could give me your number and find out." And so she sent the number, and I looked at it for about 10 seconds, and then I remembered Sister White said, "The final movements will be rapid ones." So I called her immediately on the phone, and we talked from 10 o'clock that night to 10 o'clock the next morning.
You talked for 12 hours?
We talked for 12 hours. It's like a full-time job.
Oh my goodness.
And the next morning I called my mom and I said, "I have found her. She's an angel." And so we got married about 2 years later at the Sligo Church. Willie and Elaine Oliver did our wedding from the General Conference.
Yes.
And, so we're so excited. And then after that, I pastored in Colorado Springs and was communication director of the conference there. And we were praying that the Lord would open a door, because before we got married, my wife was teaching as a teacher in Greater New York Conference. But where we were, there was not an Adventist school where she could teach. And so she was teaching in the public school. So we were praying the Lord could open a door for both of us to work for the church. And so I got a call from the East Central Africa Division in Nairobi, Kenya, to Maxwell Adventist Academy. And the call was for me to be the boys' dean and for my wife to be the principal of the elementary school.
Wow.
And so the first year we got the call was 2013, and we turned it down. We felt like the Lord still had more work for us to do. Then the call came again 1 year later in 2014, and we prayed about it, and we accepted the call. And all my friends said, "This is crazy. How could you leave as conference communication director to go down to be boys' dean of an academy, But we felt the Lord leading.
In
and
Kenya?
We went. In Kenya.
Wow.
So
It's interesting to me that, you got a call as a missionary, basically,
Yes.
to leave your comfort zone
Yes.
and go over to another country with
Right.
another culture.
yes.
How was that? How was it leaving here and going to another country?
It was quite an adjustment, but it was a blessing to see the fervor and passion for mission and ministry of the people over there, and to learn from other cultures. It really opens your perspective, and broadens your horizon. And, here we baptize, I think I baptized 100 people one time over here, but we're baptizing thousands of people, and there's such a hunger and thirst for the Lord over there. And I was boys' dean at the academy for a year, and that was good because it taught me how to say no. I'm a nice guy, and I don't like to say no, but it taught me how to say no. And I got asked to help out at the division with some communication projects. They said, "You were a communication director in the States. Can you help us with this?" And they had a project to do a video for GC session and a deadline, and it kind of had fallen apart. And so they asked me to take over, and I wrote a script overnight. And that was the video that was shown in the 2015 General Conference session. And after I produced that video, then they called me to serve as the Special Assistant to the President for the East Central Africa Division in Nairobi, Kenya, in charge of leadership leadership development, strategic planning, ASI, media, communications, assessment, and a few other things, mission to the cities. So all my friends said, wow, look at God. You left communication director of a conference, you went quote unquote down, but there's no up or down in God's
That's
eyes,
right.
but you went to be a boys dean, and then you went from being boys dean to now assistant to the president for the division. And I served there for 4 years as a missionary.
Look at, oh, that's incredible. Look at how God works. Now, had you said, no, that job's beneath me.
Right,
I'm not doing that.
right,
I'll do this, but I won't do that.
right.
With God, it's go from here to here, but it's not really down.
No.
Because you're getting trained,
Right.
just like Joseph.
Right.
You know, I thought about Joseph as you were telling about your journey. I'm thinking, you know, about Joseph and how he went into slavery, basically,
right.
but he was being groomed
Right.
for a higher position. That's what God did, and you were obedient.
Yeah.
What a lesson.
Yeah.
What a lesson there is in just being obedient and doing what God calls you to do.
Yeah, and then being humble and just trusting the Lord.
Yes, yes.
And it was an honor to serve, and I learned many things, and I was able to finish my doctorate degree as well, my Doctor of Ministry in Communication and Leadership while I was there, and they asked me to kind of lead a leadership development initiative and train all the leaders in the division. I was in charge of leadership development for all the conference presidents, union presidents, for the whole division. And so it was a real honor to serve in that way. And I developed actually a bunch of videos, a bunch of resources on leadership development, which is available online now on our division website and also on philipbatiste.com. With tips and resources to help you communicate with clarity, with creativity, and for change and lasting impact.
That's awesome. And we have a sample
Yes, we
of that video, and we're going to show it.
Sure.
Set it up for us, this particular video.
This particular video is on how to mediate conflict. And many times, you know, leaders are struggling with, how do I mediate a conflict? People come to you and, you know, two parties are at odds with each other and, you know, they're expecting you to resolve it. And what do you do? And so this video kind of gives some tips, a brief introduction on how to mediate conflict.
That's awesome. Let's take a look.
Okay. Welcome to Communication That Connects, where we share resources and strategies to help you communicate with clarity, with creativity, and for change and lasting impact. Today, I want to talk about how to mediate a conflict. How to mediate a conflict. So we talked about in a previous video, like, what do you do when someone's upset at you? How do you respond? We talked about how do you respond if you're the one that's upset at someone. But suppose you're a leader and you have two parties that are upset at each other. How do you mediate that conflict? Well, I want to share an idea that I kind of got from a conference president of mine. It was many years ago, and there was someone frustrated at me, and I was a little frustrated at them, and he brought both of us as pastors into the office, and he sat us down, and he said, I want you to write these two questions. The first question is, why are we here? Why are we here? And the second question is, what have I done to contribute to this problem? So why are we here? And then what have I done to contribute to this problem? And in writing those down, especially the second question, what have I done to contribute to this problem? All the things that you want to say about the other person kind of fade away, because now you have to focus on what you've done. And it always takes two. And so here's my tip for mediation. Ever since that experience, I've grown, I've learned, and I use this strategy when I'm resolving conflicts with people, is sit people down and have them write those two questions. You know, why are we here? And then, what have I done to contribute to this problem? Then when you're mediating, you can use a technique that I've learned from counselors and professionals called the floor. And so when you use the floor, you get a little object, something flat, and you give it to the person that's speaking, and they're the speaker, and then there's the listener, and it's called the speaker-listener technique. So the speaker begins, and he has to share using I words. So I feel hurt, or I felt sad, or I felt discouraged, or I felt disappointed. And then the listener has to just act like a mirror reflecting back. So what I heard you say is that you feel hurt, or you feel sad, or you feel disappointed, and the goal of the listener is not to respond, is not to say, you're wrong, I disagree, is just to listen. Because remember, the greatest gift you can give someone you love is to listen. And so you just have them exchange back and forth and listen to each other. You know, the Bible says, come, let us reason together. And that's what this technique allows you to do, is to allow each party to share, to listen, and to actually own what they've done to contribute to the problem. And in doing that, hopefully, you'll be able to help them come up with a solution. And in listening to each other, in hearing each other's different point of view, oftentimes compromise can be achieved and resolutions can be found. Another tip for resolving conflicts is just simply have people get out a piece of paper and write 10 ideas, brainstorm 10 tips for resolving this difference. So if there's like a big conflict, they can write down, here's 10 ways that we can maybe resolve it. And so I want it this way, you want it that way. We can brainstorm, and then each person can share their list, and hopefully they can come up with something that can work for everyone.
That was really good. Really good. What a blessing to have that resource available so that if someone is dealing with conflict within their organization or whatever, they can watch that and get some ideas as to how to resolve it.
Yes.
What other kinds of videos do you have on your website?
So there's tips for writing sermons, tips for giving Bible studies, tips for hospital visitations, tips for communication, tips for writing news stories, tips for chairing board meetings, all kind of practical tips for leaders, for ministry people, for anyone that wants to just be involved in mission.
That's awesome. Yeah. And your website again is?
philipbatiste.com.
philipbatiste.com.
Yeah.
Great.
And it's free. So.
And it's free.
Just like God's love is free.
That's right. You can't get any better than free.
Yeah,
I mean, that's amazing. That's awesome. So you have the website, and you're using that as part of your ASI whole niche. Let's talk about ASI. What is it? How did it get started? How did you get involved with it?
Yes, so that's a great question. So when I was at the East Central Africa Division, Ted Wilson, our GC president, said to each division president, he said, I want to invite you to ASI, and I want you to bring someone with you that can be in charge of ASI from your division. And so I was the one selected from our division to lead ASI. And so we went to that first ASI convention. Then we had Steve Dickman and Kyle Allen come and do training in our division. And I actually successfully launched ASI in that part of Africa. And we started ASI, and we did some wonderful things with ASI in the eastern part of Africa. And because of my work there, I was called to serve at the North American Division. But actually, before I was called to serve at the North American Division, we received a call from the Central States Conference and from Union College to be a pastor in a church in Lincoln, Nebraska. And
so to come from Nairobi, Kenya?
To come from Nairobi, Kenya.
Back to the States.
Back to the States to pastor and to be an adjunct professor at Union College in the theology department. And we prayerfully accepted that call after 4 years of General Conference mission service. And all my friends said, you're crazy, Philip. You're leaving. You're like the vice president of the division, and you're going down to pastoring. And I said, listen, and I tell young people this, God's call on our life is a call to be faithful. It's not a call to position. It's a call to faithfulness. Wherever he places you, bloom where you're planted. Be faithful wherever he calls you to serve. So we accepted that call, and we went to Lincoln, Nebraska. We moved there, and we were excited. And I helped that church. I needed a church building. I helped them kind of find some church building solutions that they can pursue. And in 3 months, we got a call after 3 months to serve at the North American Division, where they asked me to be the departmental director for ASI and the secretary treasurer for ASI. And so all my friends said, wow, now you're moving from pastoring all the way to the division. And it just goes to show, don't chase position, just chase a relationship with God and follow him.
See, Doc, that is, to me, that is a very key point.
Yes.
Don't chase the position.
Yes.
Chase after God.
That's it.
Follow him. Be faithful to him. He's going to show you. If you know that he's telling you to, okay, so you're here, and it looks like you're taking a position here. If God is telling you to do it, He's going to restore you.
That's it.
He's training you
That's it.
right
He's
here.
preparing you.
He's preparing
That's
you.
it.
And so what you're saying is so important for our young people to hear.
That's it.
Don't chase the position.
Amen.
Follow after God and be
Right.
faithful to his calling.
Yes.
And just let him be God. Let him do what he does.
Yes.
So
ASI.
ASI. Now, what is so a lot of people don't know what
it
ASI is.
Yes,
What is
yes.
ASI?
ASI is a department of the North American Division, and it stands for Adventist Layman Services and Industries.
And they just left out the L.
And yeah.
Because you always kind of
Yeah.
get confused. Like Adventist layman, but where's the L? in
Well,
ASI?
Adventist and layman is like one word
Oh,
together. It's like
okay.
hyphenated. Adventist layman
I see.
meaning Adventist church members, Adventist lay people,
Right.
And services and industries. And so ASI is about mobilizing lay business people, lay ministry people, and lay professionals to engage in our mission of sharing Christ in the marketplace.
Nice.
And so we do that through the ASI convention, which we have every year, and we also do that through union chapters. Each union has a chapter, and they have meetings. And then we have special tools that we've developed and designed to mobilize people to engage in sharing Christ in the marketplace.
That's incredible. And how long have you been with ASI?
So I've been working, for the past 3 years in the East Central Africa Division, but officially with the ASI North American Division, I started in August of 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are some of the programs that come under the umbrella of ASI? Because ASI has so many facets to it.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
wonderful, wonderful program. It really is. So tell us some of the programs that fall under the umbrella of ASI.
So some of the special projects which ASI has initiated, and you probably may have heard of, is one of them, my favorite, is called the New Beginnings Evangelistic Series. And it was developed about 20 years ago, and New Beginnings, it's evangelism in a box. And so it's designed for a layperson, someone that's never preached before, to be able to just use this tool. It comes with 26 sermons. Mark Finley wrote the sermons, and PowerPoint presentations. And, the way it's done, I've preached it in several countries around the world, in Rwanda, in Belize, in Brazil. And the way it's done is the script is right there. So you can just read the script. And we had a 12-year-old in Rwanda, and he baptized like 500 people just reading the script from the sermons. And so it's designed for anyone. It's saying anyone can be a minister, can be an evangelist. God's call is for everyone. And we've also developed more recently, just actually this past week, we had delivered our first shipment of 7,500 picture rolls. And when you were in Sabbath school, they had those picture rolls and
Yes.
you learn about Jesus. And so we were preaching, we baptized 100,000 people in Rwanda, and Ted Wilson, Nancy Wilson were there, and so many people were preaching simultaneously, 3,000 evangelistic series at the same time. And we realized that many people had PowerPoint presentations, but where we were, the power, the electricity went out. And do you know that there's 1.2 billion people in the world that have either no access to electricity or limited access to electricity? Wow. And so what ASI has done is we've developed these picture rolls where we've taken these same 26 New Beginning sermons and we've put them in beautiful, attractive picture roll form, and you can use it as a tool to preach around the world. And you can find out more about that at picturerolls.org. And then there's project funding that's available as well. So if you're a church, if you have a ministry, if you're a person with a passion for Christ or for sharing his love with others or people that are less fortunate, you can go to asiministries.org/projects or click on projects, and you can find out about project funding. Our deadline is every December. So at each ASI convention, we pick up an offering for special projects. And at our last convention, that offering was divided among over 40 different projects. Different ministries were able to benefit. Our goal for the offering was $1.4 million, and we raised $1.8 million.
Ooh.
And I'm happy to say
In
the
one
3ABN
offering.
was a recipient of our
Yes, praise the Lord.
Yeah,
Yes. Not the 1.4.
Not the 1.4, but you were one of the 40.
Praise the Lord.
Yes.
And that's such a blessing because ministries need help.
That's right.
All of these ministries rely upon donations.
Right.
And so to get a donation from a group like ASI or and from you individual donors, I mean, what a blessing that is, because in order to function, you have to have money. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
So ASI makes sure that there are certain ministries that you sponsor each year.
Yes.
And it varies from, and if you have a ministry, you can
apply for funding.
Right.
Yes.
How would they do that?
So they would go to asiministries.org and click under projects. There's an application form right there that you can fill out. Before filling out the application form, I recommend watching the video. It says watch video. Most people don't watch it. It's like a small video by Harold Lance, but it has an hour video on tips for how to better increase your chances of your application being approved.
Right.
So if you watch that video, that can really help you in filling it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kind of a little tutorial
Yes,
as to how to boost you up in the line.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you like our viewers to know about ASI? Those who are not familiar with it.
I would like them to know that, ASI is specifically for, church members. It's not for pastors or people that are employed by the church. We like to say if your institution is in the Adventist Church yearbook, then you can partner with ASI, but in terms of becoming an ASI member, you need to be a layperson, and you can become an ASI member. In fact, we have something new called Young Professionals, and we just started that, and that membership is only $25 for the year. And if you're 18 to 35 and you're in college and you're studying, or you're a young, up-and-coming professional entrepreneur, or even a nurse or doctor, you can join that way. And then there's a professional membership. That's if you are, say you're a doctor or a lawyer and you're the owner of a practice, you would qualify for professional membership. Or if maybe you're not the owner of the practice, but you work in the practice, you're an associate, then you can qualify for an associate membership. Or if you're an entrepreneur, you can qualify for a business, a nonprofit membership, or a for-profit membership, or your organization can qualify for membership. So there's various ways. And you can find that out, asiministries.org, and just click under membership, and there's an application right there, and all the information is there for you.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us.
Absolutely.
You have given us some really good information, and it's so good to see how God has led you all these years. Wow. From where you were to where you are now.
Yes.
And He has more to go.
Yes.
There's more to come.
Yes.
But we're grateful for all the work that you're doing and for ASI and the way you're leading with ASI as well.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, and thank you for sharing with our viewers. Make sure that you check out ASI. Every year they have a convention. Go to the convention. You will be amazed.
First weekend of August.
Okay. You will be amazed at all of the exhibits. Well, we've reached the end of another program. Join us next time, because it just wouldn't be the same without you.